Triumph, India's leading virtual career fair for diversity. Discover over 5,000 jobs at companies that celebrate you. Find a workplace that's equally yours between the 12th to the 14th of November. Enroll now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to day two of Triumph. We are very excited with us to have Swati Bhargava. Swati is the co-founder of CashKaro and EarnKaro, India's largest cashback and coupon platforms with over 14 million downloads. She started her journey from Ambala and then earned her way to the London School of Economics. She's co-founded Pouring Pounds with her husband Rohan in the UK and brought the cashback model to India. Her work has earned recognition in Fortune 40 under 40 list, and she's met with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss India's startup landscape previously as well. She's spoken at high profile events like TEDx and ISB Niti Udyog IIT Fest. And today we're going to talk to her about women leading the way in tech. So let's have a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jaya. Thank you for it's great to be here. And I've always enjoyed all my interactions with Founded, so I'm sure this is going to be another one of those.
Yeah, I hope so. So I think we can just begin with the first question. I think it's something that touches the heart for a lot of women in tech, that we still see tech as mostly a male dominated field in India. And we
Yeah.
see very few women in development and leadership roles. So we'd love to hear from you as to why you think this is the case and how we can start changing it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a small town called Ambala. I got a scholarship to study in Singapore, so I did my 11th and 12th there, and then a scholarship to the London School of Economics. Um, After that, I worked at Goldman Sachs in London for 5 years. I did investment banking. And during that time, also, there were very few women in finance. We launched Pouring Pounds in the UK and expanded it to India, launched CashKaro in 2013. So it's been about 11 years. And in these 11 years, I have seen that change. Like initially, when we started, there were very few women in tech, very few women in e-commerce and in the Indian startup ecosystem, actually, on the whole. Now there are a lot more. Even though we still see that women funded businesses are like less than 10%. Women in leadership roles are just about 17-18%. And women in tech also tend to be, in that less than 20% number. And I think why that is a multitude of different factors. Can't ignore the fact that, it's not necessary that all women are interested in tech. So depends upon that. But I think more fundamentally to me, it goes back to when we are growing up, when we are young. What is the conditioning that we grow up with? What do we hear around us? And I think most Indian women grow up with people around them saying that your career is actually not even that important. You are going to, in the end, you're going to study and you'll get married to a nice, rich husband, and that becomes the goal. So whether tech or non-tech comes after that. So that's why we don't even see as many working women. Now, within working women, when we say, okay, there are women who may be interested in tech, but then they look at colleges and they're like, oh, parents feel you will be going to a college which is going to be largely male and so few females. Forget it. Why don't you do something else? Comes down to the safety we offer our women, which is very less. So it's a combination of that. It's also the bias at the end, that even if women study in tech, will employers think that they are as capable as men when it comes to tech jobs? Do they feel like they will get that many tech jobs? Maybe there is a sense that there's always going to be a bias against me, and I might have a better career if I pick up marketing or HR or something else where there are already more women who are in role models as role models. But now, if you look abroad, there are a lot of good women who are CTOs. In the US, for example, some of the best startups that we know, their CTOs are women. In Microsoft, so many senior positions are held by women. So things are changing, but it is taking time because it is the change of a thought process. It's the change of bias which has existed since very long back. And I think societal changes have still not happened. People are still, parents and societies need to start accepting that tech is a good career for women. Women should be allowed to build a career. Women should be allowed to study. So we take it back to the roots, and then we find the problems emanating from there.
Absolutely valid. I think that our conditioning and how we grow up definitely defines the choices that we will end up making in our careers. But there's
Yeah.
a second aspect to it, which is that women find it harder to get promoted. They find it harder to be picked. Sometimes they are the only women in a boardroom or a meeting room full of men. And
Hmm.
what do you think organizations or women themselves can do to address those?
Well, I have always been in that position where I've been a woman amongst many men. When I was pitching for, our Series B funding, I was in Korea, I remember, in a large meeting room full of men everywhere. And I was the only woman there and also the one pitching. So I've always had that. At Goldman also, I've had that. But what I've felt is that, women don't need to be so conscious of the fact that of our gender, of, us being female versus male. We need to just get on with it, do our jobs, and be known for the work that we do. So I've always focused on my work being good, and if that's the case, then I know that people will always see that versus my gender, and that's why I've never let it bother me. However, I do tell women that when you are in a position where you are, let's say, in a boardroom where a lot of men are there, you're the only one, you should still not be afraid to raise your hand, to make a point, to and don't shy away. Not only it's not that there are no other women. Sometimes, let's say, if there is 30% women, 70% men, even then women tend to go sit at the back. They always take the invisible spots in the room, and I think women need to be okay with being more visible. I always tell all the women in my team that when we are doing a meeting, please come sit up front at the table, and that's where I want to see you, and that's where I want to speak with you. So women need to be more forthcoming.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. I think that what young women or women in the middle, like in the part of their career where they're still looking to grow, would also love to get is support from their organization. And what do you think organizations can do to implement programs or strategies that can foster women and support women to grow as leaders and become leaders and then thrive as leaders?
Well, firstly, organizations have to check our own behavior. Are we permeating any gender bias? Are we saying that our head of data cannot be a female? Are we saying that our CTO can't be female? If we are permeating those gender bias, we are doing it without even knowing it. So are we maintaining gender parity? Because if we ourselves feel that women can be paid lesser than the men for the same role, then forget about others following our example. We ourselves are permeating this problem more. So we need to check those actions on our end. At CashKaro, we have a very diverse workforce. We, make it a point to provide whatever support is needed to make sure women are retained in the workforce. And that starts with multiple angles, because it is about making sure that equal opportunities of leadership are there. They get equal learning and training. There is no pay disparity, and also it is about the messages that you give in the organization. So we are always saying that women are equal to men, that men should not have these cliques that they go out for a smoke and then discuss business there, whereas the female colleagues are not there. We're always telling male colleagues that you need to think of your female colleagues as part of the same team. If you're going to do any socializing or whatever it is that you don't want to involve females in, you plan that post working hours, it's your thing, but no business gets done there, so that everyone is included. And it's also just generally fostering a very supportive, friendly culture, where women also feel safe, and they know that yes, these are people they can trust. The organization has very strict rules on posh, so they know that it's a safe workspace. I think that that feeling of safety is important. And I think the conditioning that you give to people, the behaviors you reward, the behaviors you appreciate, that all sets examples for others. So if small things happen and you let it slide, it becomes okay. But if you catch the people who are doing small bias and tell them, no, this is not okay, you try and nip it in the bud, then I think it becomes a lot easier to manage.
So, rightfully said, Swati, I think that organization culture plays a very important role in whether women will stay, whether women will participate, grow, and thrive in, tech organizations and just in general in the corporate culture. How do you think women's leadership is generally viewed in the tech landscape? And could you walk us through the impact it has on the career growth of women when they see leaders around them, and how women leadership is viewed?
Hmm. Well, everyone knows that there are fewer women leaders in tech than one would want them to be. But and I think importance of role models is underrated, because people do feel encouraged seeing that somebody else has made it, because they feel like agar wo kar sakte hain to main bhi kar sakti hu, and they were able to do it, they were able to manage it. So in our company also, I see a lot of younger females looking at the older moms, who are saying that. These How do they manage their household, their kids, their work, so they become role models. Now similarly in tech, if you have more role models, you're looking and saying that, okay, these are women who have managed to thwart all that male competition that was coming as they were rising, and then we can do it as well. So the role of mentorship is there. The role of just having examples around you who can succeed are is there. And I think that's I mean, goes without saying that if you have role models, people will be a lot more encouraged.
Absolutely, Swati. I think that especially when you're starting out, it so helps to see somebody who you would want to emulate, be the person at the top, guiding you and mentoring you. And women in tech absolutely need more role models and more leaders in general, so that they feel encouraged to stick around and fight it out and
Hmm.
be like take their rightful position at the front of the table rather than at the back bench. So,
Yeah.
finally, we'd love to hear about your own journey as a co-founder of a tech startup.
Hmm.
We'd love to hear some of the challenges that you faced in building a team in a male-dominated space.
Yeah, I think hiring is one of the biggest challenges when you are building a business, and that is for tech and non-tech businesses alike. But I think in tech it's even more so, because the talent is lesser. Number of females in tech are even lesser. Um, because the supply is less and demand is more. Tech is one of those industries that over the last 5-10 years, in fact, has gone berserk. Because people are offering a lot to the same talent pool that is available. So salaries have gone off the roof. Techies are famous for taking offers and getting them matched and not joining in the end, because they are spoiled for choice. So I think in the middle of all of this, what really matters is, what are you building? Is it something that you can attract tech talent to, because they also feel passionate about that as a project? And what is um, the market size? How big is a business that you think can be built? Because that again is attractive. Techies are looking for also, a good company culture, a good brand to associate with. Will they get room to grow, and can they be, doing their individual projects, or is it only a management role? So all of this has helped us attract tech talent and retain tech talent as well. And those are the challenges of building a tech business as well, because talent itself is a problem. But I think given that India has a lot of smart people, it has a lot of good problems to solve. It is an exciting space to build a business in. So I remember when we started in India, 2013, CashKaro, that time affiliate marketing was very new. So we made all the tech solutions for that. We, worked with all our partners like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, everyone, to get integrations done, and to figure out how will reporting work, how does cashback get tracked, how do we get commission for transactions, because we give cashback from that to customers. So it became, so we were at the forefront of innovating for tech. And that helped us stay ahead of the curve, because even today, most of the solutions that we made are what the whole industry uses. And I think after that, when we raised money, so we raised our Series A round from Kalari Capital, which was around 25 crores. Then Mr. Ratan Tata came on board as an investor. Then we did Series B, Korea Investment Partners. Then recently we raised money from Affle, which was 130 crores. Now, after having raised 250 crores, what I've seen is that, I mean, money is important for building businesses, but a good company culture is really important for retaining and attracting talent. And India has good tech talent. India has good female tech talent also. But everyone will be fighting for that talent, because it is it is scarce, and companies will try their best to retain. But at the same time, I feel that even techies need to see how they can contribute more, because there is enough supply as well. So people won't just keep you just because you're a techie and it's hard to replace. Techies who are actually thinking about the product, how does the product become better, how does the marketing become better, we are tracking marketing campaigns, but what else can we do for value add there, they will always be better regarded because they're actually contributing to the growth of the business as well. So the more that technology people can start thinking about growth, the more valuable I think they become for the company.
Yeah, I think that does make sense. And I think just deep diving a little bit into your answer, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey as a woman entrepreneur. If there were any special challenges that you faced because of your gender that
Hmm.
um, that you had to overcome, and what are some learnings that you lived through that our audience can take away from here, because I see a lot of young folks in the audience who do have those questions, whether they want to start up on their own or whether they want to join a startup or whether they just want to have that startup mindset in their corporate job. Like, how does being a woman affect on a day-to-day basis what I can do, and how do I navigate those things on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, I've never really thought of myself as a woman entrepreneur or as a woman professional. For me, work always comes first. And I think the more I'm able to prioritize and focus on it, and the more I work hard, the more I see success and less stereotyping and less bias. So that has been my formula all through. And I think that's how the world also sees professionals. So I don't think people should think of it any other way. I mean, when we were raising money, people used to tell me that you and Rohan are a couple. So why not have Rohan lead the fundraise? Why you? Because if he is leading the fundraise, then maybe you won't have the female bias coming in from investors. But I said, I don't feel it anyway. So I've never felt that female bias. And therefore, just getting on with your job has been the formula always. I think other than that, I have come across people, of course, who, when we are sitting together, if they have a question about tech, they'll look at Rohan. If they have a question about marketing, they'll look at me. So they automatically assume that these will be our areas. So that kind of bias does exist. But I mean, honestly, it never bothers me. I don't think it should bother people. What we should be focused on is, what are the opportunities? Are women interested in tech? If they are, what is it that is stopping them? How can we enable more women to come through? And the only thing I would say to the women is that if you do join a workplace and you feel that certain things you need differently, you want flexibility, you want certain particular training, you want to work with a specific team, then don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. But if you do ask, then it's quite possible that the answer will be yes. So go ahead and ask the question, like it, and don't worry about it, because I've always done that. When I was applying for my Singapore scholarship, if I thought that what are the chances that a girl from Ambala will be among the 25 students from all over India, I would have never applied. If I thought Mr. Tata will never say yes, I would have never actually uh, pitched to him and got money as well. So I have always taken the route with, like, what if we ask the question? And I think that's what I would always encourage more women to do.
On that fantastic note, thanks a lot for being with us, Swati, today. I think that a lot of us will take away a lot from your inspiring journey and will continue to not be afraid to ask for our place at the table. Thanks a
Yes,
lot.
good. Don't be afraid. All right. Thank you so much. Great meeting you all. All the best.
Same here.